So for working on the sheep, we're going to be using Bernat Pipsqueak and 1 strand of regular worsted weight yarn. I'm going to use white, but if you use a different color, it will help you see your stitches better, but there is a chance that the color is going to show up on the other side. So that choice is yours. I'm going to show you some tips though on how to make it easy to work with this. So the first thing you need to know is that you need to use a bigger hook than the 4mm that the pattern calls for. I'm going to use a 6mm. You can use slightly bigger if you think that it's going to help, but you just want to make sure that when you're doing the body, the holes aren't really big and that the stuffing isn't going to come out. So the first tip is when you're working your magic circle, don't use the Bernat because this is not going to slide and close your circle. So you're just going to do your 8 single crochet in the magic circle like the pattern calls for with just the worsted weight yarn. And this will help your circle to close, and then we'll add in the Bernat. Okay, so I think 5, 6, 7, 8. And you might hear me sniffling a little bit. I have a bit of a cold that I've been fighting all fall. Okay, so you're going to pull your circle tight. And now you're going to take your Bernat, loop it over your hook, and pull it through. And hold your, don't worry about the tail because you can just crochet over the tail. Now hold your 2 strands together, and when you put your 2 single crochet in the next stitch of the round, you're going to be doing that with both strands. So 1, 2. And when we're working the fleecy pieces, we are going to be trying to keep our count, but you know, if you're off by a stitch or 2, it's not really a big deal because we're basically just making circles for the head piece and for the body. Okay, so the other trick, so you're going to work around in your circle, and you really want to feel for where your stitches are going. Like once you get up into the rounds where you have both strands of yarn, the trick is to feel. I mean, you can look to see if you can see your stitches, but if you can't, really just feel. And when you go to put your hook in there, the hook's going to want to go. If the hook doesn't want to go, you haven't found your stitch. Okay? The other thing that you have to recognize is that, oh, I got a tangly mess here. When you use the Bernat, the right side is not going to be as fluffy as the wrong side. So you have to flip it inside out in order to get that nice fuzz on the outside. So what you have to do is take your starting tail, tie your knot, stick your hook up through, and then pull your tail to the inside of the piece. Oh, I know, my puppy is crying because she doesn't like the rain, and we are having a ton of rain from, I'm going to assume Hurricane Michael is working its way up here. I don't know if it's here yet. Okay, so this is going to be the inside of the piece. And then you fasten off, and you don't need a real long tail of the Bernat because you're going to be sewing with the worsted. Okay, and same thing for the body. We're just starting our circle and working our way up, and then because it's so hard to see the stitches, we are going to be adding a row of the beige here to attach the head to. So say for instance you've dropped some stitches because it's so hard to see, and you need 20 but you only have like 18. Once you switch down to the smaller hook, you can put your 20 stitches around. You might just have to fudge it and stick one in there just so that you have your final 20. So it is a little bit of a pain to work with, but it's so worth it because it, you know, a sheep or a lamb is nice and fuzzy and soft. So I would say do your best. If the Bernat doesn't work out, you know, you could always try using some fun fur, or you know, there's a bunch of different types of yarn that you can do to give yourself some sheepy, lamby texture. And then you just have to adjust to get the right width that you want. So for this one, you know, we're kind of fudging it and doing our best just to get that texture that we want. Also, the other thing different on the sheep pattern is that on the other big head baby animal patterns, we are crocheting on the limbs. We can't do that because where we have to turn it inside out, it would just be a pain to have to try and crochet the limbs and flip it all around. So we are sewing the limbs on the sheep, and that the pictures will be in the pattern on how to do that. Okay, so